We've seen recently with a lot of natural disasters around the world, including large-scale fires, that it's sometimes more difficult than we can imagine to get resources to where they're needed in time. And I've previously been discussing this idea of what I call hyper-organisms, things that are made out of people but are not people, but have an intelligence of their own. We can think of them like an artificial intelligence in the sense that there's this behavior that's operating in an intelligent way, as if it comes from a mind-like object. And I think the best examples are businesses and sports teams and churches, families, multinational corporations. These are abstract entities in the world. In our modern legal system, they're actually given a personhood. And they operate as if they have a mind. Large Fortune 500 companies are very intelligent, and they have a lot of intelligent people working there. But the intelligence of the company is somehow independent of the actual people. We can hire them and fire them, and the company culture, so to speak, and the large-scale operations are independent of the actual people. The people are fungible, so to speak. And what's interesting about these hyperorganisms is while they operate like they have a mind, we have to remember that their mind is not a human mind. It's something else. It's something alien, like the artificial intelligence. And these alien intelligences, it's not just that they don't necessarily care about us, it's that sometimes they can't care about us. Their mind doesn't fit on our terms. They're operating as a machine. And these large-scale, sometimes relatively blind machines can hurt individuals, even the ones operating that machine, in a way that they don't understand or are aware of and feel no ethical responsibility for. An analogy might be when we use hand sanitizer and we're not thinking about the bacteria and their goals as a life organism. We just want to clean our hands. And when we think about responsibilities like fire departments or police forces or even just business development practices, we have to remember that these hyperorganisms, these governments and organizations and communities and cultures operate at a different level from the individual. And they have different goals. They have goals of balancing their budget and getting voted back in and just overall sustaining themselves. And they don't have the emotional capacity like an individual human to really understand suffering, to care, and to have compassion. These are human values that come out of human minds. But the world, unfortunately, for better or worse, is dominated by these hyperorganisms, nation states and multinational corporations and entities that have assets that most individuals can't possibly even comprehend. And so we need to be aware of this when relying on these hyperorganisms for our welfare and our happiness and every other aspect of our life. It might be as simple as having buckets of water or a running hose or grocery stores that can operate in a stable economy and so on. We have to try to better understand these large-scale behemoths, these hyperorganisms, and know that they don't necessarily have our best interest in mind unless we explicitly put that in there as designers and architects of these businesses. Let me know what you think about these tragedies and these disasters and how the hyperorganisms might be better prepared next time to help the individual members of those organizations.